Hello friends, welcome to my channel CM's Biology. In the series of session we are discussing about the most important chapter uh, from human physiology for class 11th, that is nutrition. We have already discussed up to stomach. So today till the end of this session we will learn the detailed structure and function of small intestine. So in this figure, you can see the first part of small intestine duodenum, second part is jejunum and third part is the lleum. So it starts after stomach, the stomach opens into the first part of small intestine, that is duodenum, then it is a coiled tube which forms jejunum, and finally it opens to the ileum, and it is the last part of small intestine which opens to the large intestine. Clear? So from the stomach, it opens through the pyloric sphincter. Here is the pyloric sphincter at the last part of the stomach. We know the last part of stomach is pyloric stomach, which opens to duodenum through a sphincter or valve, which is known as the pyloric sphincter. So let's start. What are the characteristics of small intestine? First one, it is a long narrow tube measuring about 6.7 meters in length. It is the largest part of the alimentary canal. As we know, the alimentary canal is about 9 meter and it occupies most of its part, that is 6.7 meter. It is longest part of the alimentary canal, I have told you. Next one. Internal lining is raised with finger-like projections called villi. So villi are the internal lining of this small intestine is projected inward, extended inward, forming finger-like projections. It forms finger-like projection inward, which are called as villi. Why these villi are there? In order to increase the surface for absorption of digested food substances. So as we know, complete digestion occurs in the small intestine and absorption of simplified food takes place in this region. That is why here, to increase the surface area for absorption of completely digested or simplified food substances, there are villi. The mucous membrane of small intestine folds and forms intestinal glands or crypts of Leverkusen. We need to know here the intestinal glands, the glands present in the intestine due to the folding of the mucous membrane of the small intestine. And these intestinal glands are known as crypts of Leverkusen. So crypts of Leverkusen is the other name for the intestinal glands. Intestinal juice is secreted from the intestinal gland. So the intestinal juice which is secreted from intestinal gland is known as succus entericus. So succus entericus is the intestinal juice which is secreted by the crypts of Leverkusen. So crypts of Leverkusen are the intestinal glands. Intestinal glands, crypts of Leverkusen, intestinal juice, succus entericus. Okay. So what are the different parts of small intestine? We can see here. This is the stomach. This is the pylorus or pyloric stomach. Here the sphincter is present, the pyloric sphincter, which guards the food to enter the small intestine. It is there in order to prevent the backflow of food from the small intestine to the stomach again. Okay. So food passes from stomach to the first part of small intestine, that is duodenum. This C-shaped structure, or you can say U-shaped structure, is known as duodenum, which is the first part of small intestine. It runs downward to form the jejunum. It is the second part of small intestine. Again, it is a coiled structure. It runs in the abdominal cavity, and finally it forms the last part of small intestine, that is the ileum, which opens to the cecum. Cecum is the first part of large intestine. We will learn in detail about large intestine. At that time I will say you what are the different parts of the large intestine. So the ileum opens to the cecum through the ileocecal junction, where the ileocecal valve is there. So here in between the small intestine and large intestine there is also a valve which is known as the ileocecal valve, due to the name of ileum, the last part of small intestine, and the cecum, that is the first part of large intestine. So this is the structure of small intestine, how it is located in our abdominal cavity within the large intestine. Okay, it starts from the stomach and ends at large intestine. Okay, so let's move on. What are the different parts? There are three different parts of small intestine, and what are they? First one is duodenum, as we know it from the diagram. Second one is jejunum, and third one is ileum. So these are the three important parts of the small intestine. So first let's discuss about the first part, that is the duodenum. It is the first part of small intestine, measuring about 25 centimeter long. Its length is only 25 centimeter. Out of the 6.7 meter duodenum, the first part of small intestine is only 25 centimeter. So it is the shortest part of the small intestine. Next point, it is the shortest and widest part of small intestine. It is also wider than the jejunum and ileum. It has the shape of English alphabet C, as I have told you in the diagram. It looks like C. It starts from the stomach and turns, forming a structure of English alphabet C. Next, the hepatopancreatic duct opens to duodenum at an area known as ampulla of water. I will show you this one. In this diagram, you can see this is your liver, this is the gallbladder, and this is the common bile duct that comes from the liver and gallbladder. From the gallbladder, the cystic duct, and from the liver, the right and left hepatic duct. And they together form the common bile duct, which unites with the pancreatic duct to form the hepatopancreatic duct. So this hepatopancreatic duct opens to the duodenum, where it opens to a part of duodenum which we call the ampulla of water. So this hepatopancreatic duct plays important role in digestion because it carries the bile from liver and pancreatic juice from the pancreas, which has significant importance for the emulsification of fat and digestion of different food substances in the small intestine, or particularly the duodenum. So it opens, the hepatopancreatic duct opens to an area known as ampulla of water in the duodenum. Okay. So next one, the opening is guarded by a sphincter known as sphincter of Oddi. So where the hepatopancreatic duct opens to duodenum, we call that region as ampulla of water, and at that exact location there is a valve which regulates the secretion of the opening of the pipe which we call the hepatopancreatic duct, and that sphincter or that valve is called as sphincter of Oddi. Okay. The inner wall of duodenum is folded to form Brunner's gland. So in the duodenum, the inner wall is also folded to form the glands which we call the Brunner's gland. It is also known as the duodenal gland, and it secretes mucus. So duodenal gland or Brunner's gland are there in the duodenum, which secretes mucus. Next part is the jejunum, and it is the middle part of small intestine, present between duodenum and ileum. We know the first part duodenum and last one ileum. So the middle part is present between these two, and it is the middle part of small intestine. It is 2.5 meters long. It is much longer than duodenum, but it is not the longest, because the last part, that is the ileum, is the longest part of small intestine. Okay, it is very coiled and vascular structure. Yes, we have seen the diagram in the previous slide. The structure of the small intestine is very coiled, so the jejunum is also very coiled. It is very richly supplied with blood vessel, so red in color. Why it is richly supplied with blood vessel? Because when the food gets simplified, it will absorb into the blood vessel, and as the jejunum, the wall of the jejunum is supplied richly with the blood vessel, it looks red, and it helps in the absorption of food from the intestine or from the jejunum to the blood vessels. Okay. Next, last part is the ileum. It is the last part of small intestine. It measures about 3.5 meter. As I said that it is the longest part of small intestine, the last part, because it plays vital role in the process of absorption of simplified food. So it measures about 3.5 meters. It is longer, 1 meter longer, about 1 meter longer than the jejunum, because jejunum was 2.5 meter. Okay, let's move on. Mucosal lining of ileum is folded to form crypts of Leverkusen or intestinal glands. So here the intestinal glands are also there, because the inner wall or the mucosal lining of the ileum is folded to form the crypts of Leverkusen or the intestinal glands that help in the process of digestion, okay, by secretion of different enzymes. Ileum opens into cecum through the ileocecal valve, as I have shown. You know that there is the opening which we call the ileocecal valve. There is the valve that regulates the opening of the small intestine to the large intestine, and the last part of small intestine is ileum, and the first part of large intestine is cecum. So the point where the ileum opens to the cecum, there is a valve which we call the ileocecal valve. It prevents backflow of food from the cecum or from the large intestine to the small intestine or ileum. What are the functions of small intestine? At the end, we will learn what are the different functions. It performs dual function of digestion and absorption, because it is important in digestion. Here different types of enzymes are secreted. Succus entericus is secreted, pancreatic juice is coming from pancreas, liver is giving bile, which although it is not helpful in digestion, but it simplifies, it breaks the complex fat molecules into simple form. Okay, so it can be digested easily. Okay, so small intestine has dual function. Two functions are there. One is digestion, and at the end, the digested food get absorbed into the bloodstream. So digestion and absorption, both are the functions of small intestine. Next point. Here food is digested completely. Yes. Third one. Absorption occurs here by the help of villi. As we know, the finger-like projections to increase the surface area for absorption of food, which is the folding of the inner wall of small intestine to form the villi, and on the villi there are small finger-like projections which we call the microvilli again. So villi and microvilli help in the absorption of the simplified or digested form of food into the bloodstream. So they increase surface area for absorption. Next one. The intestinal glands are crypts of Leverkusen, and duodenal glands or Brunner's gland secretes several digestive enzymes which help in the process of simplification of food. So these are the different functions of the small intestine, and the different parts are duodenum, jejunum and ileum, and it is present between the stomach and large intestine. Clear? So this is all about the small intestine. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks a lot. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel CM's Biology and hit the bell icon. Thank you.